Today's video is going to be on the oil rig that exploded in the Gulf. Now there's going to be two aspects to this video. There's going to be the news portion of it, and then there's going to be a reality portion of it. Okay? Let's get to it. Here we go. Well, as we all know, there's a explosion in the Gulf of Mexico there. The oil is just spewing out all over the place, and our government doesn't seem to be really doing anything about it. And there's going to be some links underneath the video, but the first thing is that the explosion took place on April 20th. Okay, and it exploded, and it was just a big stew, and no one really knew what was going on. There was just all kinds of oil in the Gulf of Mexico. But anyway, now there's going to be a video underneath about how we can seal this. Okay, one is a nuclear option. One way we can do this is actually sending a nuclear missile down there and blow it up, and somehow they say that will seal it. I don't know how that works, but that's what they say that they can do. Well, it seems as though that the Soviet Union has done this 4 times in their history. If you follow the link underneath, it explains all that, how the Soviet Union has had multiple leaks of oil rigs in their history, and that's how they tend to seal them up, is by detonating with nuclear weapons. Or another way we can do it is use conventional weapons. We don't necessarily have to use nuclear, but we can use standard ballistic missiles and send them down there and blow the damn thing up, and then we'll have it sealed. Okay, but you know, it kind of suggests that there's a few ways we should go about doing that. You know, what we should do is get the Navy involved, get the Army Corps of Engineers involved. We've got to get Halliburton involved. They also suggest getting Exxon involved, and also BP is going to be there as well. Well, there's pros and cons to this. You know, if you send a missile down, and whether it's nuclear or conventional, okay, you risk the possibility of a huge explosion, okay, and what's the repercussions of that? We don't really know, okay. Yeah, apparently it's been done before in the past by other countries. We've never done it, I don't think, but it's an option, and it's a good option. From what the news report says, it's a good option, okay. But BP doesn't want to use explosives, okay. The reason why they don't want to use explosives is because if they send something down there and they blow it up, okay, they lose the investment. Okay, they don't know how much oil is going to be lost in the explosion. They don't know what it's going to do to the ocean floor. Is it going to make it more difficult for drilling? You know, what's the scenario going to be after blowing it up? Okay, now BP, you know, they're the only ones who are working on this pretty much. You know, the government says that they are involved a little bit. Obama really hasn't done anything major with the situation, which is kind of baffling considering how devastating it is to the Gulf Coast and the Gulf of Mexico. There's plant life that's being killed, animals are being killed, there's all kinds of wildlife, special wildlife, very intricate, you know, environmental things down there for the wildlife, and it's all being wiped out. Okay, and our government's not really doing anything about it. And another thing that's kind of strange is that BP hasn't allowed any independent contractors to look at the well. Now, I wonder why that is. I mean, are they afraid that they're going to go down there and see how much oil is there and then say, hey, if we tap this, you know, we can get it from BP. But the thing of it is they're not looking at the safety and environmental issue of it. It's all about whatever right now. It's all about the blame game. You're trying to figure out who is at fault for this happening as opposed to fixing it. Okay, and I find that just, it's heart-wrenching. You know, I love animals, you know, I mean, other than pets and stuff like that, but, you know, I'm a hunter and things like that. So, I mean, I think, you know, all animals deserve the respect from humans. You know, I mean, this is totally disrespectful. But anyway, my point is that BP hasn't allowed any independent people to go down there and look at this disaster. And, you know, according to the news reports, BP first said it's pumping out 200,000 gallons of oil a day. Well, from what they estimate now is that it's 10 times that amount per day. It's actually 10 times 200,000, which if my math is correct, that would be 2 million gallons of oil being pumped into the Gulf of Mexico a day. Okay, now what's also happening is you're not seeing the full effect of all the oil coming to the surface because they have dispensements And what those are is it's a device that is below the water surface. And I don't know how deep they are, but it's kind of like a system where it catches the oil from floating to the top, so it's actually holding it at bay underneath the water. Now, this is causing more problems for the Gulf of Mexico because this oil that's being held at bay is actually contaminating the Gulf even more than we can even see. Okay, and this is just a crazy thing that's going on. You know, they've used more disbursements than in any other historical oil well explosion or oil well spill in the history of the world. It's just unbelievable. Now, another thing that's going on is that, you know, the idea of, all right, well, why don't we just burn oil off? Well, now it's gotten to the point where there's too much oil to burn off, okay? It's got so bad that there's too much oil on the surface to burn off because now they're afraid of something that's going to go wrong and it's going to end up being like a huge forest fire, but on the water, okay? And that's kind of crazy. And about this top hat idea, you know, there's been a lot of skepticism about this using this top hat. In fact, there are some articles saying that they already knew that these top hats weren't going to work. It's just kind of weird how it just kind of goes on, and it seems like this is a toy now. It seems like, you know, the world, you know, Obama and the leaders of BP and this, they're like, oh yeah, you know, we've got this well that's leaking, you know, let's get it after this weekend or whatever. You know, I mean, you know, these guys need to take care of the situation now, okay? And, you know, another crazy thing is that one of the articles says is that from the get-go, right from the get-go, we had the technology to seal this thing off, and we just didn't apply that technology. In fact, we still have the technology to seal it off. And for whatever reason, we're not doing that. I don't know if it's held up in government bureaucrats or if there's, you know, some kind of, you know, red tape somewhere or what's going on, but whatever it is, we seem to be dragging our feet on getting a solution to this. Okay, now here's something that I found real interesting. Okay, BP is still in control of all of this. Okay, Obama needs to get serious about fixing this thing. Okay, but here's one catch. BP made an enormous donation to Obama's campaign for being elected for president. Okay, and I think that's part of the reason why Obama hasn't pushed BP to get the solution done, because of all the money he received in this campaign. Again, that's going to be below in one of the links as well. Alright, so this is all the news aspect of it. Alright, it's pumping out, it said 2 million gallons of oil a day, so I don't understand, you know, what's the problem here. This is such a disaster. In fact, it's such a disaster, one of the links is going to be that now the oil has actually reached the Keys of Florida. It's floated over so far from where it's at. It's reached the Keys of Florida, and now Florida's having a shit fit about what's going on. And I can totally understand. Alright, I can totally understand that. Okay, but now here's the reality part of it. Okay? The reality part to me is, why isn't Americans getting pissed off about this? Why aren't Americans doing anything about this? I don't see any revolt. I don't see anything going on. All I see is Americans sitting on their hands watching Dancing with the Stars or The Apprentice. Oh my God. You know, who got fired this week, you know? I don't understand. This is an outrage. This is the total outrage for our country. We are losing vital situations in the Gulf Coast, okay? I think Obama is helping to cover this up because he's not doing anything about it, okay? And let's add to the cost of fuel, okay? Are we going to pay $5 and $6 a gallon for gas come midsummer or in the fall? All right? Okay, now let's think about all of the commercial damage that's happening. All right, this is going to add to the food shortage that's in the United States. And how is that going to happen? Well, let's see. Businesses who rely on the fishermen to go out there and get the food, the fishermen can't go out there because of all the oil that's there. Okay, and that's going to destroy the fishing crops. Okay, now if the fishermen can't go out there and get the fish, guess what? The stores can't sell the fish to make a profit. Well, guess what? If they can't sell the fish to make a profit, they don't need employees. I mean, people, you got to wake up. You got to understand how severe this situation is. This is a very, very serious situation. Here we have this problem where everything's going wrong. Obama's doing nothing about it. BP's dragging their feet, and no one's getting angry. That's the whole thing I don't understand, is that no one's getting angry. Why isn't anybody getting angry? Why aren't you voicing your opinion? I'm voicing my opinion right now. I'm telling the whole world right now I'm pissed off about it. Okay? When are you going to stand up? When are you going to start doing something? I think this is all part of the agenda. I honestly do. That's my opinion. It's all on the agenda. It's all about government control. You people better wake up. I'm telling you. Let me see some information from you. Let me hear some comments from you. That's what my viewpoint is, and I'm really getting sick and tired of hearing about this, and I'm really getting sick and tired of hearing about how they're not doing anything to fix the situation. Now I've had enough.